Well, the first game of the CONCACAF World Cup qualifier for the US is in the books. And before I actually talk about this game, I just want to quickly send a message to all the doomers and overreactor that is currently watching this video and say that this is only one game. I know there's going to be people that's going to be panicking after this game, and I know by no means this was a great game whatsoever from the US, but you got to remember, this is only one game in the 10 games that's going to be happening in World Cup qualifier. And in some way, I kind of predicted this was going to happen to the US, where when you decided to put a relatively new group and put a relatively young roster in such a hostile environment, in such a pressure cooker environment in a World Cup qualifier, things are not going to immediately click in the beginning. Now, obviously, do I think it would be better if this team would have won this game? Absolutely. But do I think there should be a lot of panic after watching how the US play in this game? Absolutely not. Because, again, I think for me, we're still a long way until we get to that pivotal point where maybe there could be some concern if this team is not picking up enough points to make it into the top 3 or the top 4 spot of the octagon. But as of now, since it's only one game into the World Cup qualifier, I think people need to kind of calm down a little bit and just trust the fact that the processes that Greg Berhalter is going to be working with will eventually click. But in terms of this game-wise, yeah, it was one of those games that was kind of relatively boring to watch. And, if you're a neutral watching this game, yeah, I do apologize that you just wasted 90 minutes of your life. But in terms of the starting 11 in this game, there were some notable player that was in this starting 11 that you probably didn't expect it to be in the starting 11, and then some that, of course, missed out. Matt Turner was actually the player that started in goal for this game, and obviously a lot of that has to do with Zach Steffen. I think he picked up a bit of a knock and wasn't available in this game, so Matt Turner, of course, started in this one, followed by Sergino Dest, Tyler Adams, Gio Reyna, Weston McKennie, Josh Sargent, Brendan Aronson, Miles Robinson, Tim Reams, Conrad De La Fuente, and DeAndre Yedlin. And obviously the most notable player missing in the starting 11 is Christian Pulisic, who is not available because he's also picked up a little bit of a knock. I believe he actually picked up COVID, and he's actually been training by himself in Nashville, and it seems like maybe he could be ready for that game against Canada on Sunday. Of course, no word if that, of course, is the case, but from what we have heard is that he's just training by himself, just trying to get himself back to fitness and basically get off that COVID protocol list. But in the first half, the first thing I saw is that, unsurprisingly, the atmosphere looked absolutely electric. I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to these El Salvadorian faithful. Completely packed the stadium. I mean, that was one of the game where that game and that stadium really kind of reminds me of a 1980s kind of vibe where that stadium, there's no seats whatsoever, and fans are just kind of standing there, and because of the fact that there was no seats and fans are just kind of standing there near those kind of open bleachers, it does make it look really packed, and really there's just no empty seats that I can see throughout the stadium. It was just a sea of blue, and they were definitely very excited about this first game. I mean, in fact, I think a lot of their fans are kind of treating like this is kind of like their World Cup, and I don't blame them too, because El Salvador is a team that usually don't get to this stage of the World Cup qualifying stage, where they are actually given an opportunity to potentially qualify for their first ever for their first World Cup ever since 1984. Oh, they actually have qualified to World Cup when the World Cup, of course, started, but it's been a long time since they have, of course, qualified one, and you can definitely see their fans were very excited that this might be an opportunity to do so. And of course, fireworks was going off in the background. Again, the fans were very excited. It was just absolute electric atmosphere, and it's something that I think knowing how this squad was coming into this game facing that kind of hostile environment, you can maybe understand why a point out of this game isn't actually the worst thing possible, because when you have to go to El Salvador and face that kind of hostile environment throughout the 90 minutes, and you're still able to walk away with a draw after playing a relatively young team that hasn't really built a lot of chemistry together, it also is kind of understandable why I kind of view it as that is the way where maybe a draw might actually not sound as bad as what some people will think it is. Now, the other thing I will also say is that the broadcast fee on Paramount Plus, yeah, it was not good whatsoever. I actually decided to bought the subscription for Paramount Plus, and I'm only gonna get the subscription throughout this World Cup qualifier. Once World Cup qualifier is over, I'll pretty much just cancel that subscription. But yeah, it was really bad in a way where there was just some bad cameras cut. Like in the beginning of the game, they literally just only show, like, for the first 30 seconds, they only show like the camera angle from each end, and it was not a bad camera angle, but in some way it kind of feels weird to see that the camera angle just kind of in a fixed position in one of their ends. And also the commentator in this game, which was Andre Cortado and Mo Adu. Yeah, they were okay throughout this game, although they just seems like they were 2 seconds behind the action. Like it seems like there might be like a 2 second kind of delay, and that just kind of feels weird every time when there's a chance goes through, and then it took like 2 seconds to realize, oh, that chance of course did actually went through. And yeah, it was just kind of summarized how the broadcast fee was just not good whatsoever, and it's not surprising because I had a feeling CBS was probably gonna botch this pretty badly. I mean, I remember when they covered the CONCACAF Nations League final, they didn't really do a good job in terms of that broadcast, and it seems like they have once got. I think this was even worse with the way that they of course botched it. But 2 minutes into the game, Reina did hit the side netting before Tamakis actually tried to clear the ball away, but he actually clears it off of Aronson, and Aronson almost redirect that one toward goal. Now, Brendan Aronson kind of knew nothing about that. That was kind of, maybe it would be a very fortunate goal if that one went in, but unfortunately that redirection just went a little bit high toward goal. But it was a promising start for the U.S., and it just feels like they didn't seem like they were faced with the hostile El Salvador faithful that was in at the Estadio Culiacán. But in the 8th minute, Robinson had a free header, but unfortunately missed wide, and you gotta say that's gotta be one that Miles Robinson has to put away. I mean, with so few chances in this game, especially for both of these teams, that was one of those one where it was one of the best chance of the game, and you could maybe even argue that was the best chance for the U.S. at least in the first half. And yeah, he has to put that one away, but unfortunately he doesn't. But then Rodriguez puts it high over the bar, and this is when El Salvador really started to get control of this game. I mean, they kind of looked shaky in the first 10 minutes, and I'm guessing most likely the fact that, since this is also a big game for them, then you maybe can say that there might be some pressure on them to try to entertain the home faithful. They definitely looked like they were a little bit nervous, but they started to kind of get into this game, and once they get into this game, this is when the U.S. really start having trouble getting possession. And, in the 29th minute, Monterosa hits one high from 20 yards out before Alex Rodon tried to curl one in the back post, but missed high. I was kind of disappointed to see that we didn't actually have the battle of the Rodon brothers until late in the second half. I mean, I was really looking forward to both Christian Rodon and Alex Rodon facing off against each other in opposite side, because that's something you do not see every day, especially in a World Cup qualifier like this. But I also kind of wrote what I said a couple of seconds ago, where the U.S. need to gain control back into this game. Like, it feels like El Salvador was dictating play in this game, and the control was getting away from them. Now, eventually they did, but then there is the problem with the final third. And throughout this game, the final third was just absolutely horrendous from the U.S. Like, it just feels like, I don't know if there is a lot of these players that kind of feel reluctant to try to shoot the ball, but it kind of felt like it was the case. Like, every time when there's a good chance for one of these players to basically hit one on target, they just don't do it. Like, they just get too hesitant. And maybe that a lot has to do with, again, the a lot of these youngsters, maybe they want to take the safe route. They don't want to kind of take the risk a little bit, but I think that's something that Greg Berhalter probably will have to tell his youngster and really nail in their mind that, hey, if you have a chance to get into an open position, don't hesitate and don't just kind of let that chance go by, just take a shot, see what happened. Maybe, test the goalkeeper of El Salvador, who, the goalkeeper for El Salvador, and really both goalkeeper for this game, they weren't really tested, and it was kind of hard to tell whether or not if either of these goalkeeper was actually going to be up for the task with so few chances. Although in the second half there was one big chance that the U.S. had that really tested the El Salvadorian goalkeeper, that kind of came up big there. But at least in the first half, he wasn't really tested because the U.S. just could not get anything going in the final third. Sargent then puts it wide on the volley in the 44th minute. I definitely read the match thread on Reddit on MLS, and I saw a lot of people were going at Josh Sargent. And, I know Josh Sargent didn't really have a good game in this one, but I don't think he was really the main reason why the final third was bad for this team. I mean, it's a combination of both him and Western McKennie and even Gio Reyna just not really clicking on the same page most of the time when they go forward on the attack. And, I understand why maybe Sargent gets most of the blame, because he's supposed to be the guy that should be putting the ball into the back of the net as a number nine for this team. But I really think that the total blame on him was kind of a little bit unfair, because it wasn't really just him was the reason why the final third was just not good from the U.S. But we head to halftime, scoreless between both of these teams, and in the second half, yeah, it's pretty much the same. Once again, I thought the U.S. looked good on the build-up, but whenever they get to the final third, that's when things really started to go bad and it gets sloppy. Zavaleta then had a header that goes straight to Matt Turner, as that was one of the best chance that El Salvador, of course, had. Shots was 9-5 in favor of the U.S. at the hour mark, but both sides only had one shot on goal, as it just feels like both of these teams were being very conservative. The Ole was started to ring out from the El Salvador faithful, which, yeah, that is not great news if you are the U.S., knowing the fact that the crowd has started to try to pump up this team. And I really think that, part of the way that El Salvador played very well in this game was the home fans. I mean, they really were acting like the 12th man in this game, was trying to will this team forward to try to get all 3 points, and they almost did it. So in this one, now eventually the subs did start to come in for the U.S. I mean, a lot of U.S. fans were begging Greg Berhalter to kind of change things up with some subs, because it was clearly not working. And credit to Greg Berhalter, he did able to make the sub right around the times that, right around the hour mark. This is usually when I see coaches start to make some subs if they think that things are not, of course, working out to plan. Now, those subs kind of did make some impact to this team, because I thought they started to get a little bit more dangerous going forward. McKinney did had a header that just missed wide from close range. Before, in the 75th minute, this was probably the best chance for the U.S. as Acosta leaped up there from a cross that was delivered from McKinney. But Gonzalez with an incredible save to deny the U.S. there. And that was really kind of the biggest test that he had to face throughout this game. But my God, he definitely passed that test with an incredible save, denying Acosta there and the U.S. the opening goal of this one. And then in the 78th minute, finally, the Battle of Rodans, one of the things I've been looking forward to in this game, finally happened, as Christian Roldan, of course, is summoned. And even though we didn't see a lot of them kind of just so around with each other, there was kind of one sequence where I think both Roldan brothers were going at it, trying to win the ball. And I think, oh God, I forgot, was it Alex Roldan or Christian Roldan, the one that kind of went down? But yeah, the Battle of Rodans finally started to happen, and honestly, I really hope when the U.S. does play El Salvador again this time in the U.S., hopefully we're going to see more of the Battle of the Rodans, because, again, it is very rare you see a World Cup qualifier or even an international kind of match where you have two brothers both on opposite side facing off against each other. But as the time winds down, it just kind of looks like more and more like this could end 0-0. I mean, I know Mo Edu trying to tell the audience that, eventually there's going to be a goal that's going to happen. No. Did you see how this game has went to the 85th minute, where literally nobody seems like they were going to get a victory and get that crucial goal? Yeah, it doesn't seem like anybody is going to score. But I don't think the crowd really cared, because, as the game started to wind down, it seems like the atmosphere and the volume that they had present throughout the full 90 minutes just cranked up to another level. I mean, it was just incredible atmosphere. It was just at a point where it almost felt like I was there when I was listening how the crowd was chanting throughout this one. But despite the fact that they did try their best to will the El Salvadorian team to get 3 points, it didn't happen. As in the end, it ended in a predictable 0-0 result. As the shots in this one, 7 shots compared to 13 that El Salvador has. Or actually, no, this is actually backwards. It's actually 13 shots compared to 7 that El Salvador has. I actually got that one backwards. And in fact, I can actually change it right now. And basically, right, SLV here and the U.S. here. And technically, I should have switched this too because El Salvador was the home team and the U.S. wasn't the home team in this one. And I usually write the home team on the left side. But in terms of the stats, 7 shots compared to 13 that the U.S. had, 1 shot on goal compared to 2 that the U.S. had, 7 shots off target compared to 4 that El Salvador has, 4 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that El Salvador has, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that the U.S. has in this game. And like I said, I'm not going to panic just yet after this performance, and that, you know, this kind of performance in some way kind of reminds me a little bit of what happened in the CONCACAF Nations League, where, remember in the first game of the CONCACAF Nation League, which I kind of forgot who were the U.S. playing in that first game, but you saw how they were kind of being very sloppy, and a lot of people were kind of freaking out that, you know, this is the first time that the U.S. is actually in a legit kind of competition, and they just look absolutely horrendous. And look what happened after the CONCACAF Nation League is over. Yeah, they went on to win that final. And it's also kind of the same case in the Gold Cup too, where I thought in the Gold Cup, the first game that the U.S. of course played, were very, very sloppy, and I know there was a lot of people kind of panicking the fact that the U.S., even though they did win 1-0 against Martinique, people were panicking the fact that the U.S. were not playing well whatsoever, and they were going to get absolutely demolished when they do face against better team in the Gold Cup competition. Look what happened. They eventually went up and win the Gold Cup. So my point is, you know, the first game doesn't usually determine, at least from what we've seen the pattern for this U.S. team, determine the outcome at the end of a tournament or at the end of a competition. And I truly believe that this is going to be the case again, where as we get deeper into World Cup qualifying, I think this team is going to get better. And, you know, while I know there are still a lot of concerns right now of where the goals is going to come from, because when you look at this attack, it doesn't seem like there's anybody on the attack can really be the guy that be the true goal scorer of this team, and especially that number 9 position, where I know a lot of people were disappointed to not see Ricardo Pepi in this one, and I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of one of them where I was kind of disappointed not to see Pepi in this one, because this might be one of those games where, you know, if Ricardo Pepi comes in, even get maybe like 10 minutes, you could maybe make an impact, knowing how hot of a form that he's been in with FC Dallas in these last couple of games. But we shall see whether or not if he is going to make an appearance in the next game. And now the next game the next game that the U.S. are going to play in the World Cup qualifying against Canada, that is going to be a very important game, because, you know, the recipe for qualifying for the World Cup in the CONCACAF region is win your home game and able to get points on your road game. And right now the U.S. are kind of following that formula where they got the job done in somewhat by getting a point on the road, and now it's up to them to get all 3 points at home against Canada to get themselves in a good position and off to a good start in terms of the CONCACAF World Cup qualifier. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this game? And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.